Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. The modern day rivalry continued as Pep Guardiola's Manchester City hosted Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool at the Etihad. City needed the win to prevent the gap to the Reds growing too large, whilst Klopp wanted to reclaim top spot in the Premier League. In the end, the match ended 1-1 thanks to goals by Jesus for City and Salah netted for Liverpool. The XG indicated that City created slightly more, 1.58 to 1.19, and the XG time map showed that City had less shots but of much higher quality. But what tactics did both managers use? Let's take a look. A quick shout out to my Patreons for helping to make this video possible. If you want to support, head on over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple and you'll get rewards like early access to videos and exclusive content. A quick reminder of the formations used by both sides, as seen on the OneFootball app. OneFootball will get you match updates, formation updates, as well as player and team stats, and so much more. And the best part is, you can get it absolutely free through the sponsored link in the description below. Let's start by looking at what Liverpool looked to do in possession. Liverpool generally looked to build up short from the back, primarily through the centre-backs, whilst the fullbacks pushed higher. City used a high block but were not extremely aggressive in the press, ending with a passes per defensive action of over 11. De Bruyne would push higher alongside Jesus to make a 4-2-4. And when City did look to remain compact, they would have to push their backline higher, and Firmino could at times push higher up, so that Liverpool could effectively have a 4 versus 2 high up the pitch. And Liverpool were not shy about looking for the more direct ball in behind, usually to Salah or Firmino, trying to make the run in between Laporte and Cancelo, who in the past has had positional issues. And just as easily, when Walker was caught high up the pitch following an attack, Mane would often make runs in behind to look to get on the end of the longer ball. So, Ederson had to be alert and have a good starting position to cut off several of these moves before they could even begin. But with City backing up the press and only having a double pivot in midfield, they would have to go man-to-man in the midfield. And the Liverpool front two of Firmino and Salah looked to exploit this, as one or both of them could drop deeper whilst the other pushed high, joined by the pacey wingers in Jota and Mane making runs in behind, which served to force City's backline deeper as they were wary of the ball over the top as discussed. And City's pivots were often poorly positioned, being dragged around the pitch fairly easily and freeing the direct pass into the man between the lines. He would then look to drive up the pitch and look to create. So, as the match went on, City's pivots were more conservative, dropping slightly deeper to compress the space. At this point, City had been able to cover City's whole backline by pushing Sterling and Ferran higher onto the fullbacks. But Henderson and Wijnaldum began to drop into the fullback zone in the build-up. As a result, if Sterling moved to press the free man, Alexander-Arnold would be able to receive the ball and drive up the pitch. Alternatively, if you stayed deeper, Liverpool's midfield man now had a bit more space to get his head up and pick out the pass. But for the most part, City were able to stay quite compact defensively when needed. But what did City look to generally do in possession? Like every Guardiola side, they would start off by looking to find their centre-backs, and from goal kicks they would split the box and Liverpool could push higher, with their wide forwards on the centre-backs and Firmino remaining more central, ready to cover either pivot. But usually in open play, Liverpool had no interest in pressing at all, with a passes per defensive action of over 30, which is extremely high, especially for a Klopp side. Instead, they concentrated on being compact in a 4-4-2/4-2-4 shape. As they only had 2 pivots, they were wary of being outnumbered 3 versus 2 with De Bruyne high, so the forwards had a big defensive role to play. They could be more withdrawn, looking to use their cover shadows to prevent any passes into Rodri and Gundogan. Alternatively, they could shift into more of a 4-2-3-1, with the front 2 taking turns in picking up Rodri depending on which side the ball was. And as the stats show, they were effective in stopping progression through the centre of the pitch. This was aided by the fact that De Bruyne essentially played as a second forward throughout the match, as the average positions show. It would have been interesting to see him drop into midfield more to try and overload the 2 Liverpool pivots. Instead, in a bid to get more touches and space on the ball, one of the City pivots would look to drop deep to form a back 3, looking to draw a Liverpool forward and potentially create more space in midfield. This did allow Cancelo to move higher up the pitch, however, and when Jota was drawn into the press, Cancelo could be found with a chip ball down the line, while Sterling moved inside. They would then look to combine down the flank to get into good positions. But by building down the left-hand side, they were able to drag Liverpool to the right, with Mane often tucking in or being higher up. As a result, City would often look for the switch to the wide man or the fullback. And we see shades of this in City's goal. City have overloaded the left, and crucially Liverpool's pivots have shifted across on the cover. Rodri is able to find Walker with the switch, and with Mane high, it's a pivot who has to try and cover across. This opens up room for De Bruyne to receive the ball in zone 14. He then finds Jesus, who turns expertly and finishes. Overall, in this highly tactical match, both sides were more concerned with keeping things tight at the back. City will be slightly disappointed though, having manufactured the better chances. Liverpool won't mind an away point and will hope to build on this going forwards. But what did you make of the match? Drop it down in the comments below. And as always, a special thanks to my Patreons for helping to support the channel, including Ricardo Hu and Moteb Adderwood, who recently joined my Ultra tier. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.